choice but to blow up this list. You're not able to use the list in the way that you want it. But you have several tests out there, all right? Agree? You need to know what your test average is. So that means that your test average would end up making you do that 78, that 66, that 75, and that 80, and divide them by 4 at this particular point in time. Now, you could do that by hand. You could do this piece of the problem in the stat list and have the calculator do the addition for you and figure out what your average is going to be. That's a possibility. So if we wanted to let the calculator do that part for me, I could do it either here or I could do it in the stats menu, but I'm going to do it here. So I would have that 78, I would have that 66, I'd have that 75, and I would have that 80 added together. And that means I got a total of 299 points spread out over 4 tests, which means that I have an average on my test, which is 74.75. A C average. Maybe not what you'd like to have at the end of the semester, but certainly still a respectable grade. It's in the middle of the C range. What portion of your grade is that? 10% each. So altogether, 40%. So you would have to take that value by 40% to be able to come up with the number of points that you've earned in that category. This is what your gradebook screen is doing when you look at show the calculation. Okay, so once again, I would have that 74.75, and I'd have to multiply that value by 40%, and that would tell me that in this category alone, I just earned 29.9 points out of all the possible points that I have for the class. And now we look at final exam. What do we know about final exam? Final exam is 20% of our overall grade. And what do we observe to get on the final exam? 66. Is that going to hurt you or is that going to help you? Not going to help you a whole awful lot because it's lower than your other test grades. So that's going to pull your grade down, isn't it? So now we come back and we take 20% of that, which means that I picked up, let's see, 66 times 20% means I picked up 13.2 points. So let's keep going. Now, what about your quizzes? Your quiz category gives you an average of 82. And what weight is that? 12%. So if we take 12% of 82, then that's given us 9.84 points toward my final grade. Now homework. What kind of a homework average did you have? So you've been spending a lot of time on homework. Good. 96. And that carries the same weight as tests, or as quizzes, excuse me. So that's 12%. So now you're taking your 12% and you're multiplying it by your 96 average, which gives you 11.52 points. And now you have lab. Lab is what grade? 98. And it carries what weight? 10%. So that means you just picked up 9.8 points in the problem. And then finally you have the workbook. Your workbook score was 85. And it carried what weight? 6%. Which means that, now I can't do that one in my head, so I got to come back over here. 6%, number one, you got to get the decimal place located right, and it's of 85 points, and that means you picked up 5.1 points. And at this particular point, this is what your gradebook does, and it's what you have to do. You need the total of all of those points to find out what your average is. And that's not something that you could have just stuck into the calculator and said, please give me an answer, and it dumps you out an answer. This problem is very likely going to be a problem, and of course the problem you might see on the homework exercise might only have quiz, test, final exam, and homework. You might have fewer categories out there, but this is a living, breathing document of what your test score is. So now I need to take all those numbers and add them together. Obnoxious. So I have 29.9, I have 13.2. Okay, so let's try this. Let's get rid of that. I have 29.9, I have 13.2, I have 9.84, 11.52, 9.8, 5.1. I have a fairly respectable average. If I think that I can do a little bit better from here to the end of the semester, am I within shooting range of a B? Yeah. So what would be the best place for me to start concentrating and improving my score? Tests. Bingo. I got respectable grades every place else except the tests. Now, if that was a respectable test grade that I had and I wanted to improve my grade, getting more points on a workbook would not help me as much as getting more points on the homework or on the quiz. When you look at your gradebook situation out here, get out of here, when you come back and look at your gradebook, and this is my gradebook, not your gradebook, and you show the calculation, this is what your calculator, this is what the gradebook is doing. It takes the percentage values and puts the percent over here and talks about your points over here. So it takes 12% of this average, and that picked you up that many points. It takes 12% of that, and so on down the line. Only it puts all of your tests, final and everything, together into one category. Now, if this was me, should I be framing this and putting it on the refrigerator in my parents' house? Your parents have low expectations of you. Or if you want to shock them, yes, that would be very much a shocking type of situation, okay? But this is what your gradebook does. All values are not created equal.